Did you know there are places in the world where $500 a month can get you a beautiful apartment, 3 meals a day at restaurants, regular massages, and still leave you with money to spare? I'm Julia, and today we're diving deep into 7 incredible countries where you can live not just comfortably, but genuinely luxuriously on just $500 a month. Trust me, by the end of this video, you'll be questioning why you're paying thousands for rent when paradise is waiting for a fraction of the cost. Before we dive into these 7 countries, let's talk about what we actually mean by living luxuriously on $500 a month. I'm not talking about surviving in a hostel dorm, eating instant noodles, and counting every penny. I'm talking about a lifestyle where you have your own comfortable apartment, you eat out regularly at nice local restaurants, you can afford entertainment and activities, you have access to healthcare, you can travel around the country on weekends, and you generally live a quality of life that would cost you $3,000 to $5,000 a month or more in Western countries. Now, I need to be upfront about a few things before we get into the specifics. First, $500 goes a lot further in some countries than others, and even within these countries, location matters enormously. Living in the capital city or major tourist areas will always cost more than living in smaller cities or towns. Second, your lifestyle choices matter. If you insist on imported Western products, if you only eat at expat restaurants, if you need high-end accommodations, $500 won't stretch as far. But if you're willing to live like a local, shop at local markets, eat local food, and embrace the culture, $500 can provide an absolutely wonderful life. Third, exchange rates fluctuate, inflation happens, and costs change over time. The information I'm giving you is accurate as of now, but these things can shift. That said, the countries I'm about to share have been affordable for years and are likely to remain so for the foreseeable future due to fundamental economic factors, not just temporary currency fluctuations. Finally, living abroad on a tight budget requires adaptability, cultural sensitivity, and a willingness to embrace a different way of life. If you approach it with the right mindset, it can be incredibly rewarding. If you approach it expecting everything to work exactly like it does back home, you'll be frustrated. With all that said, let's dive into these 7 amazing countries. Let's start with a country that's been on the radar of budget travelers and digital nomads for decades, but somehow still manages to offer incredible value: Vietnam. This Southeast Asian nation stretching along the eastern coast of the Indochinese Peninsula is a place of stunning natural beauty, rich history, delicious food, and some of the most welcoming people you'll ever meet. And yes, you absolutely can live luxuriously here on $500 a month. Vietnam has several cities and regions where $500 goes incredibly far. But let me focus on a few that offer the best combination of quality of life, amenities, and affordability. Da Nang, on the central coast, is a modern city with beautiful beaches, a growing expat community, excellent healthcare facilities, and a much more relaxed vibe than Hanoi or Ho Chi Minh City. In Da Nang, you can rent a nice 1-bedroom apartment in a good neighborhood for about $150 to $200 a month. We're talking about a modern apartment with air conditioning, a proper kitchen, maybe even a balcony with city or mountain views. That leaves you $300 to $350 for everything else, and here's where Vietnam really shines. Food in Vietnam is incredibly cheap and incredibly good. A delicious bowl of pho, Vietnam's famous noodle soup, costs about $1 to $2 at a local restaurant. A plate of com tam, broken rice with grilled pork and pickled vegetables, runs about the same. Even fancier Vietnamese restaurants where you'd take someone on a date might cost you $5 to $8 per person for a full meal. You could easily eat 3 meals a day at restaurants for $5 to $7 total, meaning your monthly food budget could be as low as $150 to $200 while eating extremely well. Coffee culture in Vietnam is amazing, and a traditional Vietnamese coffee at a local cafe costs about 50 cents to $1. Internet cafes and co-working spaces are plentiful and cheap, usually around $30 to $50 a month for unlimited access. Transportation is dirt cheap, with motorbike rentals costing about $30 to $50 per month, and if you prefer taxis or ride-sharing apps, most trips around the city cost just a couple of dollars. Healthcare in Vietnam is affordable and surprisingly good in the major cities. A doctor's visit might cost $10 to $20 without insurance, and prescription medications are inexpensive. Dental work is particularly good value, with teeth cleaning costing around $10 to $15 and more complex procedures costing a fraction of Western prices. Entertainment and activities are where you really see how far $500 goes. A massage at a nice spa costs $5 to $10. A gym membership runs about $15 to $25 per month. Movie tickets are $3 to $4. Weekend trips to places like Hoi An, the ancient town just 30 kilometers south, or up to the mountains around Bana Hills, are inexpensive and easy to organize. What makes Vietnam particularly appealing for living luxuriously on a budget is the quality of life factors that don't show up in a simple cost breakdown. The country is safe with low crime rates. The Vietnamese people are generally friendly and welcoming to foreigners. The food is healthy and fresh, with markets full of tropical fruits, vegetables, and seafood. The climate in central Vietnam is pleasant for much of the year. The pace of life is more relaxed than in Western countries, reducing stress and improving well-being. One thing to be aware of is that Vietnam has been developing rapidly, and costs have been rising, particularly in Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City. These major cities are still affordable compared to Western standards, but $500 would be tight unless you're very careful with spending. That's why I recommend cities like Da Nang, Nha Trang, Dalat, or even smaller cities like Hue or Quy Nhon, where costs are lower and quality of life is excellent. The expat and digital nomad community in Vietnam is well established, so you'll find English-speaking services, international restaurants when you crave them, and social networks of other foreigners dealing with the same challenges of adjusting to life in Vietnam. That said, learning some basic Vietnamese will dramatically improve your experience and often get you better prices, since vendors won't automatically assume you're a wealthy tourist. Vietnam requires a visa for most nationalities, but the process is straightforward, and tourist visas can be extended relatively easily. For longer stays, some people do visa runs to neighboring countries, while others obtain business visas or work permits if they're employed or running a business. The bureaucracy can be frustrating at times, but it's manageable, and many expats have been living in Vietnam for years, navigating the system successfully. Now let's move to a completely different part of the world, with a completely different culture but equally impressive affordability: Nepal. This small Himalayan nation wedged between India and China is famous for Mount Everest, Buddhist temples, and spiritual seeking, but it's also an incredibly affordable place to live, with a quality of life that can be genuinely luxurious on $500 a month. Kathmandu, Nepal's capital and largest city, sits in a valley surrounded by mountains at an elevation of about 1,400 meters. The city is chaotic, polluted, and overwhelming at times, but it also has incredible character, deep cultural richness, friendly people, and surprising amenities for such a remote location. More importantly, for our purposes, it's remarkably affordable. A decent apartment in Kathmandu can be rented for $100 to $200 per month, depending on the neighborhood and amenities. For $200, you can get a nice two-bedroom apartment in areas like La Zimpat or Jamsikel, with modern facilities, possibly a small garden, and relatively quiet surroundings despite being in the city. These aren't luxury apartments by Western standards, but they're comfortable, clean, and much nicer than what most Nepalis live in. Food in Nepal is incredibly cheap, especially if you eat local Nepali food. A plate of dal bhat, the traditional Nepali meal of lentil soup, rice, and curried vegetables, costs about $1 to $2 at a local restaurant and is filling and nutritious. Momos, Nepali dumplings that are absolutely delicious, cost about $1 for a plate of 10. Even at nicer restaurants catering to expats and tourists in areas like Tamil, you can eat well for $5 to $8 per meal. Kathmandu has a surprising number of bakeries, cafes, and restaurants serving international food because of the long-established tourist and expat community. You can find good pizza, burgers, Mexican food, Thai food, and more at prices that are still very reasonable, usually $5 to $10 for a meal. Fresh produce at local markets is extremely cheap, with tropical fruits, vegetables, and staples available year-round. One of the unexpected luxuries of living in Nepal is access to high-quality yoga, meditation, and wellness services at incredibly low prices. Nepal has a strong tradition of spiritual practices, and you can find excellent yoga classes for $2 to $3 per session, meditation retreats for minimal costs, and traditional Ayurvedic treatments and massages for $5 to $10. If you're interested in personal development, spirituality, or wellness, Nepal offers opportunities that would cost hundreds or thousands in Western countries. The other major luxury is access to incredible nature and trekking. Nepal's mountains are world famous, and even on a tight budget, you can do weekend treks to places like Nagarkot or longer treks in the Annapurna or Langtang regions for minimal cost. The permit fees are reasonable, accommodation in mountain tea houses is cheap, and the experiences are genuinely world-class. Transportation in Kathmandu is chaotic but cheap. Local buses cost pennies, taxis and ride-sharing apps charge just a few dollars for most trips across the city, and you can rent a motorbike or scooter for about $50 per month if you're comfortable navigating the crazy traffic. Healthcare in Nepal is a mixed bag. For basic care and common medications, it's fine and very affordable. Pharmacies sell most medications over the counter for a fraction of Western prices. For serious medical issues, many expats travel to nearby countries like Thailand or India, where healthcare is more advanced. Health insurance is essential, and international health insurance policies are available that cover treatment in the region. What makes Nepal particularly appealing is the warmth and friendliness of the Nepali people. Despite being one of the poorest countries in the world, Nepalis are generally welcoming, helpful, and kind to foreigners. The culture values hospitality, and you'll often be invited into homes, offered tea, and treated with genuine warmth. The challenges of living in Nepal should be acknowledged. The infrastructure is underdeveloped with frequent power cuts, though this has improved significantly in recent years. The air quality in Kathmandu is poor, particularly in winter when pollution gets trapped in the valley. The internet can be slow and unreliable. The bureaucracy is frustrating and corruption is an issue. Earthquakes are a real risk, as the devastating 2015 earthquake demonstrated. But for people who can accept these challenges and focus on the positives, Nepal offers a lifestyle that's rich in ways that have nothing to do with money. The sense of community, the access to nature, the opportunity for personal growth and spiritual development, the slow pace of life, and the feeling of living in a place that's still relatively untouched by globalization all contribute to a quality of life that many people find deeply satisfying. Pokhara, Nepal's second-largest city, about 200 kilometers west of Kathmandu, is another excellent option. It's smaller, cleaner, less chaotic than Kathmandu, sits on a beautiful lake with stunning mountain views, and is even more affordable. Many expats prefer Pokhara for its more relaxed atmosphere, though it has fewer amenities and a smaller international community than Kathmandu. Visas for Nepal are straightforward, with most nationalities able to get a tourist visa on arrival. These can be extended, and for longer stays, many people do visa runs to India or obtain residential visas if they're working or running a business. The Nepali government has been trying to attract more foreign investment and long-term residents, so the visa situation is relatively friendly. Living in Nepal on $500 a month absolutely works, and if you embrace the lifestyle, learn some basic Nepali, make local friends, and focus on the experiences rather than material comforts, it can be a genuinely luxurious life in the ways that matter most. Now let's shift to South America and talk about Bolivia, one of the continent's most affordable countries, and one that offers an incredibly unique living experience. Bolivia is landlocked, sitting high in the Andes Mountains, with a majority indigenous population, fascinating culture, dramatic landscapes, and costs that are among the lowest in the Western Hemisphere. La Paz, Bolivia's administrative capital and largest city, is one of the most unique cities in the world. It sits in a canyon at an elevation of about 3,600 meters, making it one of the highest capital cities on Earth. The city sprawls up the canyon walls in a chaotic tangle of buildings with a modern cable car system connecting different neighborhoods. The altitude takes some getting used to, and you'll be out of breath walking upstairs for your first few weeks, but most people acclimatize eventually. The cost of living in La Paz is remarkably low. You can rent a nice furnished apartment in a safe central neighborhood like Sopocachi or San Miguel for $150 to $250 per month. For $250, you can get a spacious 1 or 2 bedroom apartment with good natural light, a modern kitchen, and maybe even a view of the surrounding mountains, including Illimani, the massive peak that dominates La Paz's skyline. Food in Bolivia is incredibly cheap. The almuerzo, a traditional lunch consisting of soup, a main course with meat, rice, and vegetables, and sometimes a small dessert, costs about $1.50 to $2.50 at local restaurants. Street food like salteñas, baked empanadas filled with meat and vegetables in a slightly sweet, juicy filling, cost about 50 cents each. Even at nicer restaurants in expat areas, a full meal with drinks might cost $5 to $8. Produce at local markets is extremely fresh and cheap because Bolivia grows a huge variety of fruits and vegetables in different climate zones. Quinoa, which is expensive in Western countries, is a local staple and costs next to nothing. The cuisine is hearty and filling, designed for the cold climate and high altitude, with lots of potatoes, meat, and warming soups. One of the unexpected luxuries of living in Bolivia is domestic help. Because labor costs are so low, many middle-class Bolivians and expats employ house cleaners, cooks, or childcare providers. A house cleaner might charge $10 to $15 for a full day of work, meaning you could have someone clean your apartment twice a week for less than $50 a month. This level of service would be completely unaffordable for most people in Western countries. Transportation is dirt cheap, with local minibuses called micros and trufis charging just a few pennies for trips across the city. Taxis are also very inexpensive, usually just a couple dollars for most trips. The cable car system is modern, efficient, and charges about 30 cents per ride with stunning views across the city. Healthcare in Bolivia is adequate for basic needs and very affordable. A doctor's visit might cost $10 to $20, and medications are cheap. For serious medical issues, many expats travel to nearby countries, particularly Peru or Chile, which have more advanced healthcare systems. International health insurance that covers the region is recommended. What makes Bolivia particularly appealing is the access to incredible travel experiences at low cost. The Salar de Uyuni, the world's largest salt flat and one of the most surreal landscapes on Earth, can be visited on a 3-day tour for about $100 to $150. Lake Titicaca, the highest navigable lake in the world with fascinating island communities, is just a few hours away. The Yungas, the dramatic transition zone between the Andes and the Amazon, offers stunning scenery and adventure activities. The expat community in La Paz is smaller than in some other countries on this list, which means fewer English-speaking services, but also more pressure to actually integrate into local culture and learn Spanish. The Bolivian people are generally reserved but friendly once you get to know them, and there's a strong sense of indigenous pride and cultural identity. The challenges of living in Bolivia are real. The altitude is difficult for some people and can cause ongoing health issues. The political situation can be unstable, with occasional protests, road blockades, and strikes that disrupt daily life. The infrastructure is underdeveloped, with unpaved roads in many areas and inconsistent utilities. The bureaucracy is frustrating and corruption is endemic. Internet speeds are slower than in more developed countries. But Bolivia offers something increasingly rare in our globalized world: authenticity. This isn't a country that's been smoothed over and sanitized for tourists. It's rough around the edges, challenging, and deeply real. For people who find that appealing, who want to experience a genuinely different culture, who don't need everything to be comfortable and convenient, Bolivia can be incredibly rewarding. Sucre, Bolivia's constitutional capital and a beautiful colonial city at a more manageable altitude of about 2,800 meters, is another excellent option. It's smaller, calmer, warmer than La Paz, with beautiful white colonial architecture, a pleasant climate, and even lower costs. Many expats prefer Sucre for its more comfortable lifestyle, though it's more isolated and has fewer amenities. Visas for Bolivia can be complex depending on nationality. Some countries get free tourist visas on arrival, while others need to obtain visas in advance. For longer stays, Bolivia offers various residency options, including retirement visas for those who can show modest pension income. The process is bureaucratic but manageable. Living in Bolivia on $500 a month is absolutely feasible, and if you embrace the adventure, the altitude, and the cultural differences, it offers a lifestyle that's rich in experiences and utterly unique. This isn't for everyone, but for the right person, Bolivia at $500 a month beats a $2,000 studio in a western city any day of the week. Let's head now to Central America and talk about Nicaragua, a country that's been through a lot of political turmoil but remains one of the most affordable places in the Americas, with stunning natural beauty, warm people, and a small but dedicated expat community. Nicaragua offers an incredibly low cost of living combined with beautiful beaches, lakes, colonial architecture, and a genuinely relaxed lifestyle. Granada, Nicaragua's most popular expat destination, is a stunning colonial city on the shores of Lake Nicaragua. The city's architecture is beautifully preserved with colorful buildings, churches, and plazas that date back to the 16th century. It's hot and humid year-round, but the lakeside location provides some breeze, and the overall atmosphere is lazy and relaxed in the best possible way. Rent in Granada is remarkably affordable. You can find nice colonial-style houses with high ceilings, tile floors, interior courtyards, and traditional architecture for $200 to $300 per month. These aren't small apartments, but actual houses, often with multiple bedrooms, that capture all the charm of Granada's colonial heritage. For $300, you might even find a place with a small pool or fountain in the courtyard. Food in Nicaragua is cheap and delicious. The traditional gallo pinto, rice and beans cooked together with spices and served for breakfast, costs about $2 at a local cafe with eggs, cheese, and tortillas. Casado, the typical lunch plate with meat, rice, beans, plantains, and salad, runs about $3 to $4. Even at nicer restaurants catering to tourists and expats around Granada's Central Plaza, a full meal with drinks costs $5 to $8. The local markets sell fresh tropical fruits, vegetables, and seafood at incredibly low prices. Mangoes, papayas, pineapples, bananas, and other fruits are abundant and cheap year-round. Fresh fish from the lake or ocean is inexpensive and delicious. You can eat extremely well in Nicaragua for very little money. One of the great luxuries of Nicaragua is access to beautiful nature and outdoor activities at minimal cost. Granada sits on Lake Nicaragua, and you can take boat tours to the isletas, hundreds of small islands in the lake formed by an ancient volcanic eruption, for just a few dollars. The beaches of the Pacific coast, including San Juan del Sur, a popular surf town, are just an hour or two away. Ometepe Island, a stunning island formed by two volcanoes rising from Lake Nicaragua, is a short ferry ride and offers hiking, beaches, and a truly unique landscape. Transportation is cheap with local chicken buses, repurposed American school buses decorated in vibrant colors, charging just a few dollars for trips between cities. Taxis in Granada are inexpensive, usually just a couple dollars for trips around town. Healthcare in Nicaragua is basic but adequate for routine needs and very affordable. The better hospitals are in Managua, the capital, about an hour from Granada. Many expats also have international health insurance that allows them to travel to Costa Rica or Panama for more serious medical needs. What makes Nicaragua particularly appealing is the genuine warmth of the Nicaraguan people. Despite the country's economic challenges and political problems, Nicaraguans are friendly, welcoming, and seem to have a remarkable ability to enjoy life despite difficult circumstances. There's a laid-back Caribbean influence in the culture that creates a relaxed, low-stress atmosphere. The challenges of living in Nicaragua need to be addressed honestly. The political situation has been unstable, particularly after the 2018 protests and government crackdown. The current government is authoritarian, and there have been concerns about press freedom, political prisoners, and human rights. This instability has caused some expats to leave and has created uncertainty about the country's future. The infrastructure is underdeveloped with poor roads, unreliable electricity in some areas, and slow internet compared to more developed countries. The poverty is visible and can be difficult to witness. There are safety concerns in some areas, particularly in Managua, though Granada and the main expat areas are generally safe if you take normal precautions. But for people who can accept these challenges and focus on the lifestyle benefits, Nicaragua offers incredible value. $500 goes remarkably far, and the combination of beautiful colonial architecture, access to nature, warm climate, friendly people, and genuine affordability makes it appealing for certain travelers and expats. San Juan del Sur, the beach town on the Pacific coast, is another popular option with a more bohemian, surf-focused vibe. It's smaller than Granada, with fewer colonial charm, but more beach access and a younger, more adventure-oriented expat community. Costs are similar, though beach properties can be more expensive. Leon, another colonial city north of Managua, is cheaper than Granada with a more authentic, less touristy feel. It's hotter and dustier but has beautiful architecture, several universities giving it a young vibe, and easy access to nearby beaches and volcanoes. Visas for Nicaragua are straightforward, with most nationalities receiving a 90-day tourist visa on arrival. These can be renewed by leaving the country and returning, with many people doing quick trips to Honduras or Costa Rica every 90 days. For longer-term stays, Nicaragua offers residency options, including pensioner residency for those with modest pension income. Living luxuriously in Nicaragua on $500 absolutely works. The money goes far enough that you can live in a beautiful house, eat well, enjoy the beaches and nature, and still have money left for entertainment and travel. It's not for everyone, particularly given the political uncertainties. But for the right person, Nicaragua offers a lifestyle that's hard to match at any price point. Now let's travel across the globe to Southeast Asia and talk about Cambodia, a country that's been developing rapidly but still maintains some of the lowest costs in the region, combined with rich culture, fascinating history, and a surprisingly cosmopolitan expat scene in certain cities. Cambodia offers exceptional value for money and a genuinely interesting place to live. Phnom Penh, Cambodia's capital, sits at the confluence of the Tonle Sap, Mekong, and Basak rivers. It's a chaotic, vibrant city that's been growing and modernizing rapidly, but still retains a distinctly Cambodian character. The city has a dark history with the Khmer Rouge period, and that shadow still hangs over the country, but modern Phnom Penh is energetic, optimistic, and increasingly cosmopolitan. Rent in Phnom Penh is very affordable outside the most upscale areas. You can find nice serviced apartments in central areas for $200 to $300 per month. These typically include modern amenities, air conditioning, possibly a gym and pool in the building, and regular cleaning. For $300, you can get a spacious one-bedroom or even two-bedroom apartment in a good location. Food in Cambodia is incredibly cheap. A bowl of nam ban chok, traditional Cambodian noodles with fish curry, costs about $1 to $1.50 at a local shop. Fried rice or noodles at small restaurants run about $2. Even at nicer restaurants in areas like Russian Market or along the riverfront, a full meal might cost $5 to $7. Phnom Penh has developed a surprisingly good restaurant scene with excellent international options. You can find good pizza, burgers, Mexican food, Japanese food, and more, usually for $5 to $10 per meal. The city also has trendy cafes serving excellent coffee for about $2, co-working spaces for digital nomads, and craft beer bars where local beer costs about $1 and imported beer may be $3. Street food culture is huge in Cambodia, with vendors selling everything from fresh fruit shakes for $1 to grilled meats, noodle soups, and desserts for similar prices. The food is fresh, delicious, and so cheap that many expats rarely cook at home. Transportation in Phnom Penh is dominated by tuk-tuks and motorbike taxis, which are extremely cheap, usually $1 or $2 for most trips around the city. Many expats rent motorbikes for $30 to $50 per month and navigate the chaotic traffic themselves. Ride-sharing apps like Grab operate in Phnom Penh and offer even cheaper rates than tuk-tuks. Healthcare in Cambodia has improved significantly with several international standard hospitals and clinics in Phnom Penh offering good care at reasonable prices. A doctor's visit might cost $20 to $30, and dental work is particularly good value with many expats getting dental work done in Cambodia for a fraction of Western costs. What makes Phnom Penh particularly appealing is the expat community. The city has a large and diverse community of foreigners, including digital nomads, teachers, NGO workers, retirees, and entrepreneurs. This means English is widely spoken in expat areas. You can find familiar products and services when you need them, and there are social networks and support systems for newcomers. The city also has access to excellent weekend getaways. Sihanoukville and other beach towns on the coast are a few hours away by bus. Kampot and Kep, charming riverside and seaside towns, offer relaxed atmospheres and beautiful scenery. And of course, Siem Reap and the temples of Angkor, one of the world's most spectacular archaeological sites, are just a short flight or bus ride away. Siem Reap itself is another excellent option for living in Cambodia. This town exists primarily to serve the millions of tourists visiting Angkor Wat and the other temples. But it's grown into a pleasant place to live with good restaurants, affordable housing, and a strong expat community. It's smaller and quieter than Phnom Penh with a more relaxed vibe. Costs are similar to Phnom Penh, though tourist areas can be pricier. The challenges of living in Cambodia include the tropical climate, which is hot and humid year-round, with a rainy season that can be intense. The infrastructure is improving, but still underdeveloped with frequent power cuts in some areas and poor roads. The political situation is authoritarian with concerns about human rights and press freedom. Corruption is endemic and can be frustrating to deal with. The poverty is visible and can be difficult, particularly the exploitation of children by begging rings and the desperation of many Cambodians. The history of the Khmer Rouge period and the ongoing legacy of that trauma affects the country in complex ways. But Cambodia has a warmth and resilience that many expats find deeply appealing. The Cambodian people have been through unimaginable horrors, but maintain a sense of humor, kindness, and genuine friendliness toward foreigners. The culture values harmony and avoiding confrontation, which creates a generally peaceful atmosphere. The food culture is excellent, with Cambodian cuisine being less well-known internationally than Thai or Vietnamese, but equally delicious with unique flavors and dishes. The cost of living allows for a lifestyle that would be unaffordable in Western countries, including eating out daily, regular massages, domestic help, and comfortable housing. Visas for Cambodia are straightforward, with most nationalities able to get a tourist visa on arrival or online. These can be extended monthly for a small fee, and Cambodia is known for having one of the easiest visa situations in Southeast Asia. For longer stays, business visas can be obtained relatively easily and renewed indefinitely. Living in Cambodia on $500 a month absolutely works, particularly in Phnom Penh or Siem Reap, where the expat infrastructure makes life easier and costs are still very low. If you embrace the heat, the chaos, and the cultural differences, Cambodia offers a lifestyle that's comfortable, interesting, and genuinely affordable. Let's finish our journey with a country that surprises many people with its affordability and quality of life: Indonesia, specifically the island of Bali. Now, Bali has become quite touristy, and some areas have gotten expensive. But if you know where to look and how to live like a local rather than a tourist, $500 can still provide a genuinely comfortable life in this tropical paradise. Bali is a small island in Indonesia, known for its rice terraces, volcanic mountains, beaches, coral reefs, Hindu temples, and distinctive culture. The island has developed a massive tourism industry and has become popular with digital nomads, yoga enthusiasts, surfers, and people seeking an alternative lifestyle. This development has driven up prices in certain areas, particularly the southern beach towns of Seminyak, Canggu, and Uluwatu, but other parts of the island remain very affordable. The key to living luxuriously in Bali on $500 is location. Areas like Ubud in the Central Highlands, Sanur on the southeastern coast, or the northern coastal areas like Lavina are significantly cheaper than the southern tourist hotspots. In these areas, you can rent a nice room in a guest house or homestay for $100 to $150 per month. or a small private bungalow or villa for $200 to $300. These accommodations often include basic furniture, a private bathroom, maybe a small kitchen or kitchenette, and outdoor space. Some include breakfast, and many have pools or access to pools. The style is typically traditional Balinese with open-air designs, natural materials, and that distinctive Bali aesthetic that people come here for. Food in Bali can be very cheap if you eat at local warungs, small family-run restaurants serving Indonesian food. A plate of nasi campur, rice with various vegetables, tofu, tempeh, and maybe a small piece of meat or fish, costs about $1.50 to $2.50. Mee goreng, fried noodles, runs about the same. Fresh tropical fruit from local markets is incredibly cheap with mangoes, papayas, bananas, and other fruits available year-round for pennies. Bali also has developed a health food and vegetarian scene, particularly in Ubud, with cafes serving smoothie bowls, salads, and healthy meals for about $4 to $6. While more expensive than local food, it's still very affordable by Western standards and appeals to the health-conscious crowd that's drawn to Bali. The coffee culture in Bali is excellent, with local coffee costing about $1 to $2 and Western-style espresso drinks at trendy cafes running about $3. Co-working spaces have proliferated across the island, catering to digital nomads, typically charging $50 to $100 per month for membership. Transportation in Bali is cheap if you rent a motorbike, which costs about $30 to $50 per month. This gives you complete freedom to explore the island, visit different beaches, drive through rice terraces, and get around daily. Many people consider a motorbike essential for life in Bali, though you do need to be comfortable navigating chaotic traffic and aggressive drivers. Healthcare in Bali is adequate for routine needs, with several international standard clinics and hospitals, particularly in the southern tourist areas. Costs are reasonable, with doctor visits around $20 to $40. For serious medical issues, many expats travel to Singapore or back to their home countries, so international health insurance is recommended. What makes Bali special and why it justifies being on this list, despite some areas being expensive, is the quality of life factors that aren't purely about money. The island has a unique spiritual culture with daily offerings, ceremonies, and a pervasive sense of connection to the divine. The Balinese people are generally warm, artistic, and maintain strong cultural traditions despite the tourism influence. The nature is stunning, with rice terraces, waterfalls, beaches, coral reefs, volcanic mountains, and lush jungle, all packed into a small island. The climate is tropical and warm year-round, though, with a rainy season. The sunset beaches, particularly on the western coast, are genuinely spectacular. The yoga, meditation, and wellness scene in Bali is world-class, with numerous studios, retreat centers, and practitioners offering services at prices far below what you'd pay in Western countries. A yoga class might cost $5 to $8, a massage $5 to $10, and even month-long retreat programs can be surprisingly affordable. The community aspect is huge, with a large international community of digital nomads, artists, healers, and seekers, creating a cosmopolitan atmosphere where you can find people from around the world. English is widely spoken in the main expat areas, and there are support networks for newcomers. The challenges of living in Bali include the traffic, which is absolutely terrible in the southern areas and getting worse as the island develops. The tourist crowds can be overwhelming in high season. The rainy season brings intense storms and flooding. The internet can be unreliable despite the island's digital nomad reputation. The volcanoes are active and eruptions occasionally disrupt life, though serious eruptions are rare. There's also a cultural complexity where Bali has been significantly changed by tourism, creating tensions between traditional Balinese culture and the international tourism economy. The cost of living has been rising, particularly for land and housing, pushing some Balinese people out of certain areas. The visa situation for Indonesia requires attention. Tourist visas are available on arrival for many nationalities, but only last 30 days and can be extended once for another 30 days. For longer stays, people typically do visa runs to Singapore or Malaysia every 60 days, or obtain social or business visas that allow for longer stays. It's more complicated than some countries, but manageable. Living in Bali on exactly $500 requires discipline, smart location choices, and embracing local life over tourist lifestyle. In areas like Ubud or Sanur, away from the expensive beach clubs and trendy restaurants of Seminyak and Canggu, $500 can provide a comfortable life with decent housing, good food, transportation, and enough left over for wellness activities and occasional treats. The key is to resist the temptation to live like a tourist. If you're constantly eating at Western restaurants, taking taxis everywhere, staying in upscale accommodations, and partying at beach clubs, $500 won't last a week. But if you eat at local warangs, rent a motorbike, live in a simple bungalow in a less touristy area, and embrace the island's spiritual and natural offerings rather than its commercial ones, $500 provides a lifestyle that feels genuinely luxurious in the ways that matter. So there you have it. 7 incredible countries where $500 a month can provide not just survival, but a genuinely comfortable, interesting, and in many ways luxurious lifestyle. Vietnam with its delicious food, friendly people, and beautiful coastline. Nepal with its mountains, spirituality, and deeply authentic culture. Bolivia with its dramatic Andean landscapes, indigenous heritage, and adventure opportunities. Nicaragua with its colonial charm, beaches, and laid-back Caribbean influence. Cambodia with its rich history, improving infrastructure, and thriving expat scene. And Indonesia, specifically Bali, with its spiritual culture, natural beauty, and international community. Each of these countries offers something unique, and the right choice depends on your priorities, your tolerance for various challenges, and what kind of lifestyle appeals to you. If you want beaches and wellness, Bali or Nicaragua might be perfect. If you want mountains and spirituality, Nepal or Bolivia could be ideal. If you want excellent food and modern amenities, Vietnam or Cambodia might suit you best. The common thread across all these places is that they offer a quality of life that has nothing to do with material wealth and everything to do with experiences, community, nature, culture, and freedom from financial stress. When your rent is $200 and your food costs $5 a day, you're not worried about making next month's bills. You have time and mental space to explore, to create, to connect with people, to figure out what you actually want from life, without the constant pressure of earning and spending that dominates life in expensive countries. This isn't for everyone. Some people genuinely prefer the comforts, conveniences, and cultural familiarity of their home countries, and are willing to pay the premium for those things. That's completely valid. But for people who feel trapped by high costs, who dream of adventure, who want to experience different cultures, or who simply want more freedom and less financial pressure, these 7 countries offer genuine alternatives that are accessible on a modest budget. The world is bigger and more varied than we sometimes remember. The assumption that you need thousands of dollars a month to live well is only true in certain parts of the world. In other parts, $500 provides abundance, comfort, and experiences that money can't buy at any price in wealthier countries. So whether you're considering a short-term adventure, a career break, a retirement destination, or a complete life change, these 7 countries deserve your consideration. Paradise is waiting, and it costs less than you think. Safe travels, and I'll see you on the road.